To order the City Commission, the virtual meeting to order the City Commission of Rio Grande City. It is Wednesday, April the 22nd, approximately 6:11 p.m. And it is Wednesday, April the 22nd, and it's 5332 East US Highway 83, Suite A is typically where we have the meetings. However, today we're extending a virtual meeting as well. And at this time, we'll have the invocation by Commissioner Ramirez, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance by Commissioner Jones. Commissioner.
Let's bow our heads. Heavenly Father, we thank you for all your blessings. We ask you to please guide us and protect us through this COVID-19 situation we all experience at this time. I ask you to please, at this time, clear our minds so we can make the correct decisions for the city of Rio Grande and our residents here in Stark County. In your name we pray, amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag, pledge allegiance to Texas, one state under God, one indivisible.
Okay, at this time, we'll go ahead and have roll call and finding of quorum. Ms. Garza?
Mayor Villarreal.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Garza.
All right, somebody's microphone is.
Mr. Jones is probably going to have to go into another room if he's in the, because I think that's.
I want to turn it on.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem Garza is not in yet. Commissioner Flores. He sent me by text that she's there. Commissioner Ramirez.
Present.
Commissioner Jones.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay. This time we have a quorum, and next business and orders item 1C, public forum. Do we have anyone signed up for public forum, Ms. Garza?
Yes, sir.
And at this time, by the way, I'm also opening up the public hearing, which is regarding the grant award of a grant application to the United States Department of Agriculture, USDA Rural Development Community Facilities Grant Project in the amount of $77,218 for the Rio Grande City Fire Department, harness, air packs, personal protective equipment. So at this time, we'll open the public hearing for the grant as well. So who do we have first, Miss?
Let me go ahead and
this conference will now be recorded.
Let me call in Mr. Albert Esco. I'm
Okay.
just trying to get his number on. Hold on.
I know for the public hearing, it was advertised as well in the paper.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay.
Can we just do the, in my pad, I just got a message, it started recording right now. Just for the
Yes.
record, can we do the roll call again to make sure on the record
Sure.
we do have quorum?
Ashley is also recording it on her end. Let me go ahead
Okay.
and do.
Let's just redo it just to make sure. Let's do, again, just to make sure for the record that we have a quorum. Go ahead, Ms. Garza.
Mayor Villarreal,
Here?
Mayor Pro Tem Garza. He'll be late. Commissioner Flores texted in saying she's.
Well, she's here. I see her.
Yes.
Hello, Commissioner.
Commissioner Ramirez
I'm
Present.
present.
and Commissioner Jones. We have a quorum.
Here.
So we have a quorum, and we had, just to make sure that we had opened up the public hearing as well for the grant award from the United States Department of Agriculture, which was publicized in the paper as well. So we have that public hearing as well as a public forum at this time. And we have somebody signed up for public forum. And for the public hearing, in case anyone signed up for public hearing too, for the USDA. Commissioner,
Mr. Garza's already on.
for the record, Commissioner Garza is at the meeting. And we're just waiting on the public forum.
Just having a little difficulty calling the number, but I'm already getting that to her.
Okay. Oh.
He's already gonna call in,
Okay.
because for some reason, since we updated the go-to meeting, for some reason it kicked off the calling.
Yeah, there's no way to do it. Like, I can't see it.
So are they calling in or are they gonna do the
He's
Facebook?
gonna be calling in.
Okay, so it'll be a phone.
Yes.
Do you have anybody else?
Do we have anyone else, Ms. Garza, signed up?
Not right now. We would only have them probably for executive. You needed to talk to somebody in executive.
Okay. I guess to continue on, Mr. Villarreal, so at this point we can, since we don't have anyone signed up for the public hearing for item 2A,
Yes.
we can already end that public hearing.
The only request I would ask from you, Mayor, is to ask the city secretary if from the time of publication till today, has anyone called the city showing any interest or any concerns regarding this grant?
Okay.
And then you can close it after that.
Okay. So Ms. Garza, regarding public hearing, I know we announced it, we advertised it in the paper as well. So since the inception or since the publication up to this point, have we have anyone signed up for public hearing, particularly addressing the USDA grant?
No, sir.
Okay, so for the record, no one has signed up for public hearing under the USDA grant. So at this time, we'll end the public hearing for item 2A. It is 6:21 p.m. Okay, so going back, are we on? So we can start moving this meeting? Are we still having complications with caller?
I think we're still having problems with the caller.
Okay, so regarding this, Mr. Villarreal, how do we, so we can move forward, because I don't want to be waiting on a caller that never, for some reason, calls in.
Well, and again, that's up to you, Mayor. You can move on and say it is 6:20, whatever hour it is. You opened it up, you started the meeting. The instructions have been posted as to what to do for the public forum, and or you can just come back whenever there's any connection. It's up to you. You can end the public forum. You've had it open for 20-some minutes already.
He just sent me a text saying that he was having a little difficulty, but that he's already calling in.
Okay.
We call caller 4, I don't know what it
Yeah. I know I have somebody that says caller 4. I just don't know who that caller is. It could be Mr. Perez, because I know that he uses.
Yeah, it's
Mr.
probably
Perez,
me
can you-
because I called in via regular phone.
You can move on and if
Let's
it doesn't,
do that. Let's move on to consent agenda, and then we'll come back to that in case that if person connects in the next few minutes. So
Okay.
moving on the agenda, we have item 3, consent agenda, approval of minutes from previous meetings. We all had a chance to look at those, and if so,
I'll let you
we
know.
entertain a motion at this time. Okay, do we entertain a motion at this time for item 3?
Mayor, I move that we approve consent agenda item 3A.
Okay, we have a motion to approve consent agenda item 3A by Commissioner Ramirez. Do we have a second?
I'll second, Mayor.
Second, Your Honor.
I have a second by Commissioner Jones. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, raise your left hand. Okay, not that I'm raising my left hand, I'm just giving you an example. So just for the record, I raised the right hand. We're out for the raise the right hand. So there's no opposition for this item. Moving on, it passes. Next item is 4 resolutions. We have item 4A, discussion and possible action to approve resolution number 2020-14, authorizing public having a NECO problem. A publication of intention to issue combination tax and revenue certificates of obligation. I don't have Mr. Perez, Mr. Tejerina on the line.
Mayor, yes, sir. We previously discussed some of the certificate of obligations, and for that matter, we've got Mr. Tejerina on the line. I believe, do we have bond counsel also, Mr. Tejerina?
Yes, sir, Mr. Perez. Mr. Martinez is also on the call.
Okay. And Mr.
This is Dan.
And Mr.
Okay,
and
so
Mr.
yes.
Cantu is also on the line.
Yes, Mr. Martinez, then it's caller 4.
Hey, could we go give him a quick rundown, because there was discussions in the last meeting about some items maybe having been left out. So can we go over the changes? Is that possible?
Yes, sir. A matter of fact, Ms. Garza, thank you so much again. For the record, Robert Tejerina with Tejerina, Gavan, and Lawrence, the city's financial advisor. On page 1, behind the cover page, we have a list of projects here that were provided by Mr. Cantu, Mr. Cruz, and Mr. Perez, and Ms. Guillen. And the projects down on the PUD has been revised by Mr. Cruz. So there's projects listing under the PUD department, Garcia to Water Street and North Lopez, 6x6 prime diesel pumps. That amount was originally, commissioners, about $240,000. And I think based on the last meeting, Mr. Cruz, Mr. Perez, and Mr. Cantu remember the direction that the commissioners wanted staff to move forward with. So that amount went from 240,000 to 2,434,000. And the EDC projects were scaled back a bit to only total out $1,707,000. And then the general fund INS tax rate projects are just a tad over $13 million, and those have not changed at all. The main two that have changed really are the PUD and some site modifications to the EDC. All three of those combined, we have $17,210,610.35 of projects. Is there any questions the commissioners or staff have concerning any of the projects?
No, last time we talked about case A, that was clear. And the only addition was there where Mr. Jones had mentioned the addition to the adjacent to the new development, where it was like and that's included in this new figures. Correct?
Yes, I believe so. I think Mr. Cantu maybe could answer that a little bit, or Mr. Cruz if he's on the line.
Yes, good evening, Mayor, Councilman. This is Mr.
Well,
Cantu.
hold on. Let's before we continue, then at this point, let's go ahead and go back. I know we have caller. He's already here. So continuing back to public forum, we have Mr. Escobedo. Mr. Escobedo, welcome, sir. And under public forum, you have 3 minutes, sir. So go ahead.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Alberto Esco, and tonight I come to you as a business owner. I am concerned about agenda item 8A related to an exclusive contract to Grande Garbage. There's a couple of things I hope that you will consider before agreeing. Our city already made substantial progress by creating a department to meet the needs of our community. It was a self-sustaining and profitable for the city. In fact, the creation of this department was the result of a costly lawsuit that the city was involved in because of terminating a previous vendor to favor Grande Garbage. I do not fault the company for creating a relationship that could help in becoming a city vendor. Businesses are suffering, and aiding our local vendors is a noble cause. But if we are going down this route, let us do it the right way. There is no hurry. The contract vendor has a contract until November. Go out for bids and let the process be transparent. My understanding is that our contract is being considered. So much can happen in 5 years that I cannot understand why any entity would enter a contract that exceeds the term limits of an elected official. And lastly, I understand a political meeting was held at a prominent attorney's office. The owner of this company was an attendee. I asked that this decision tonight be based on the best interest of the city and not on the best interest of politicians. Let us learn from past mistakes and let us truly continue moving Rio Grande City forward. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, moving on.
Now you need to close the public forum, Mayor.
Okay, so at this time, just for the record, we're closing public forum, and it is 6:30 p.m. Thank you. Okay, so moving on to the certificate of obligations. Go ahead, Mr. Tijerina, you were saying.
Thank you, Mayor Varela. On the page that's titled on the top right-hand corner, we have a snapshot of the city's property values on column B. And what we did here is work closely with Mr. Perez and Mr. Cantu Based on the last 5+ years, the city has averaged about 4.5% property growth. And what we did, we're a little bit more conservative and only assumed a 3% property growth on column C. So we're showing the property go from currently 511 million, 526, and so forth. And then it stopped growing after fiscal year ending 2025 on row 16. So we have the city's principal and interest debt currently on column D. Column G is a negative amount. That is the debt that is supported by the PUD. So that's utility revenues, water and sewer revenues supporting the majority of the city's debt. And what the city is left with is on column K, which is funded with the interest and sinking fund tax rate, which is currently on column L, and we bulb that at 9.55 cents. So if you turn to the next page, and I discussed this with staff and Mayor Verial and Commissioner Ramirez, case A is assuming we go out and finance 17,215,000 certificates obligation and roughly 3.02%. That's on column E. We're going to have roughly about $1.1 million average down, and then goes up to about $1.2 million. So the principal and interest payments are on column E, totaling $23,402,000. Now, assuming that the INS tax rate supports the entire 17,215,000, this is illustration purposes only. What kind of INS tax rate increase would we see on the community, a one-time increase, what that would be? And by issuing 17,215,000, if you go to columns L and M, we would have an increase of roughly 12.8 cents. This is just illustration only. We're not recommending that this is the scenario to go with. So again, we would have pretty much the city's portion of 13,068,000 being supported by 12.88 cents of an INS tax rate increase. On column H, 1,007,000, those are going to be funded with the EDC revenue. So there's going to be an interlocal agreement that Mr. Martinez is going to draft up for both the commission and the board to consider and approve. So column H is negative. The EDC will fund their 1,007,000, pay back about 125,000 a year. On column I, the PUD is going to support their projects with water and sewer revenues. On column I, that's why it's a negative amount, about 166,000 a year. The remaining amount, 13,068,000, again, would be supported with a one-time increase of 12.88 cents, and that's on columns L and M. And if you notice, commissioners, on column L, row 122, we have a drop of from 22.4 cents in fiscal year 30 to roughly 16.5 cents on fiscal year 2031. So that's about a 6-cent drop. So it gives you capacity in the future that if you have other projects you want to move forward with, either through certificates of obligations, tax notes, or through a referendum. So you have capacity on both scenarios. And on the next page, this is the one that we really put a lot of thought into with Mayor Verial and Commissioner Ramirez. And the only difference is on column J. On column J, we're saying if we can have another source of revenue help pay for the general fund and the INS projects, where would the revenue come from? And what kind of property tax rate increase would we see on the community? So on column J, it's about 4 years worth of a negative amount. The first year, we have it footnoted as number 2, $509,000, a negative amount. At the very bottom of this page, case A2, the revenue transfer for fiscal year ending 2021, roughly $509,000, will come from the INS reserve fund, and the remaining years, fiscal year ending 2021 through 2024, which the amounts are roughly $394,000, $270,000, $136,000, will come from the utility system. So the first year, the commission and the staff have done a good job that there has been excess revenues that has been set aside in your interest and sinking fund account. In the interest and sinking fund account, once the money's in there, all the money can be used for is to pay debt down and to keep the INS tax rate down. So what you're doing here is using $509,000 from that reserve fund to minimize column M. So instead of seeing 12.8 cents of an INS tax rate increase, we're going to have 2.6 cents next year and for the next 3 years, and then have an INS tax rate increase in fiscal year ending 2025 of 2.51 cents. And that is roughly going to cover all the city's general fund INS debt 100%. So the first year, you'll get the reserves from the INS account, the 394, the 270,000, 136,000 on column J will come from the utility system. So you have a rate consultant on board right now that Mr. Cantu, Mr. Perez, and Mr. Cruz is going to reach out to see if the city's revenues are sufficient enough, the utility rates are sufficient enough to take care of the debt on column I, along with their existing debt on column G, and then help pay for the debt on column J for 3 years. And also keeping in mind the Texas Water Development Board project, roughly $5 million loan this year, and projects for next year also. So again, instead of showing roughly a 13-cent increase, we're trying to phase that in over a 5-year period. And this is very similar to what the commissioners have done in the past when you've approved utility rate increases in order to take care of all the projects and all the loans from the Texas Water Development Board. You've done it over several years. Over a 5-year period, 6-year period, you gradually increase water and sewer rates, either both of them or one or the other, in order to pay back the debt. This is very similar. Instead of doing a 13-cent increase at one time, we're saying phase it in over a 5-year period. And on the next page, Mayor, again, we have Mr. Martinez, Dan Martinez on the line. If this item is approved on the timetable, it's page 4. And correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Perez and Mr. Cantu, if this item is approved, the first publication would be on April the 29th. I believe that's when the paper is published down in Rio Grande City on a Wednesday. Is that correct? Okay, thank you, Ms. Garza, Mr. Perez. Okay, so we have the publication dates on April the 29th, and then also the following Wednesday, May the 6th, and this is by law. And then we would come back and price the bonds on Tuesday. This is towards the bottom of page 4, Tuesday, June the 23rd. And then, Mayor, correct me, and Ms. Garza, if I'm wrong, I believe this is June the 24th, which is the 4th Wednesday, which is a regular meeting, I believe, on June the 24th. We'd come back on June the 24th and consider the financing as final. And if at that time the item is approved on June the 24th, the city will receive their funds roughly a month later on July the 23rd. What you're approving today, Mayor and Commissioners, is only the notice of intent, which Mr. Martinez has drafted. You're not approving to increase the tax rate, not approving to increase utility rates. You're not approving to enter into the debt other than publish the notice of intent, the projects, the amount. And then on June the 24th, that is the day, and once we sell the bonds on the day before, you'll consider the financing as final. They would be the final interest rates, the payment dates. And then roughly about a month or two later, that's when in that 2-month period, the commissioners, the mayor, and the staff will be working to see what the property values, how did they grow, and how much, and what kind of increase we're going to have on the tax rate. And on the next page, Mayor, and this is pretty much wrapping it up, on page 5, we have the working group participants, the issuer, City of Rio Grande City, Bond Council Financial Advisor, the paying agent, Wells Fargo, the underwriters, Siebert, Williams, Shank and Company, Hilltop Securities. They were the two firms on the refunding from the fall, and Underwriters Council, Lock Lord. And I know that's a lot of information, Mayor, but I think Mr. Martinez just wanted to add a couple of things based on the notice of intent that could be published if this item is approved. Dan?
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mayor and members of the council. For the record, Dan Martinez, Bond Council. A privilege to be here with you guys. It looks like everybody's safe and sound, so thanks for having the opportunity to visit with you. Robert, appreciate the information. As Robert mentioned, we'll finalize the notice as discussed here on the call this evening with the final project list that he's provided, and then I'll get over to Mr. Perez and Mr. Canty for one final review, and then so we'll have it ready for publication. And I'll work with Ms. Garza, or my firm will get it ready to the paper, so we follow the timeline and we're ready to go in accordance with the current statute, as Robert mentioned, requiring the two publications in 45 days in advance of the meeting to approve, which, as Robert mentioned, is scheduled for the 24th of June. It's a basic process, but we gotta make sure we check all the boxes along the way. We appreciate everybody's help.
Thank you. I know as we consider this, I know as far as the commissioners, is when you're looking at timelines and when you're looking at the opportunity to save the taxpayers millions of dollars through the course of refinancing and certificate of obligations, and of course the many projects that we're considering. One of the questions, of course, right now through this whole COVID-19 and where we're at financially, Mr. Tejina, just to be on the, just to reiterate the point that the first payment of this would not incur till February of 2021. Was that correct?
Correct, Mayor. Absolutely.
So we wouldn't go into this actual added expense till the February of 2021. And of course, between now and then, we are in a good financial position to move forward if we choose to. I know there were some concerns in reference to the timeline of the last month or so, but at the same time, these are projects that are much needed, and of course, it gives us a little bit of leeway between now and February of 2021 to begin the process of repayment, or at least the first incurred payment. Any questions, any concerns, commissioners?
Mr. Tejerina, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
If any way down the line, if we want to make any changes, are we allowed to, or we got to stick with what we're doing?
And that's on the projects, Commissioner?
Yeah, on the projects.
Okay. The two projects, and Mr. Martinez can also help answer this question. The language is going to be very broad, Commissioner. It's going to include, if we go back to page 2 of the presentation, allow you to do a lot of these projects, and they're not going to be detailed, and they're not going to have a dollar amount right next to them. The only 2 or 3 projects that are really going to be identified, Commissioner, that you really can't move away from if you go with these projects, it's going to be the police and fire building, and also the club building, the Boys and Girls Club building. Everything else, Mr. Martinez has stated in very general terms, so it's not going to specify Garcia to Water Street. It's just going to say city streets, curb gutter, fire equipment, police equipment. So it's going to give you a lot of opportunity and room that other streets can be done if needed. If there's other opportunities to do other streets, you can, outside of the fire and police and the Boys and Girls Club. I hope that answered your question, Commissioner.
That answered my question. That's clear.
Thank you.
That also, and to just clear this too, is that any future grants that we receive will also help pay for some of this debt. Was that correct, Mr. Tejeda?
Yes, sir. And Mayor, that was a great question you asked last week. If for any reason you receive grants 2 years from now, say for example $2 million, and the project's already been done, again, you can or if you get grant funding money to do the projects, you can take the bond proceeds and pay down the debt. And that way you can do a cash defeasance and pay off some debt. Or as Mr. Martinez pointed out, Mayor, last time, if other streets all of a sudden come up that need to be done that weren't on this list but are a priority, you can also use those funds if
For
you
them.
need to. Absolutely. So you do have several options, and one of those is paying off the debt.
Thank you. Any other questions, commissioners? Okay, so what are your, to clarify this, I, just in considering this, I think this is the right time to do it. I know it's, there might be a little bit of trepidation just regarding with the whole concept of COVID-19, but financially, I think we're in a good position to move forward. And of course, these are multi-million-dollar projects that are much needed projects, I should say. And Mr. Cantu, just to reiterate the point, right now, between now and our next budget cycle, are we okay financially to sustain this COVID-19 pandemic?
Yes, good afternoon, Mayor, Commissioners, this is Mr. Cantu. Yes, Mayor, like Mr. Tejeda stated before, the first year of payment, we will be getting that payment done from the debt service. There's enough money there to use to be able to make the first year's payment without having to dig too much into the general fund's fund balance. So the first year is pretty much covered. It's after that first year that the PUD would come in and would assist the general fund in making up those payments, and that's where we're going to be working with Mr. Jeff Snowden and seeing if we are required to make some rate increases or whatnot. But for the meantime, we are in a good situation to make those payments for the first year.
So the year 2021, we're pretty much covered for. Is
Yes.
that okay? So theoretically, it's not until 2022 that we would see at that point is the year that we need to make sure that everything is in line to continue those payments.
Yes.
Okay. So we have a good cushion to move forward on this. Any other questions, commissioners, before, or are you ready to entertain a motion at this time?
Hey, Mayor, Commissioner Meatus here. Again, I think that we had some discussion previously to this meeting, and I think I'm confident with the recommendation of our city manager, Mr. Perez and Mr. Cantu, that we're in a good position to go ahead with this project. I think it's a no-brainer. I understand your comment earlier about maybe not being the right time because of this pandemic going on. But as far as the interest rates and the kind of things that we can do at this time with those kind of monies I think that it's a very positive situation that we can put ourselves in to be able to build a lot of things, a lot of needed paving streets and safety buildings and whatnot, and sewer plants and all that. So I think that I'm comfortable and I'm confident that the recommendation from our city staff. So with that, I'll make a motion to go ahead and approve this item as presented.
Okay, we have a motion to approve resolution number 2020-14 by Commissioner Ramirez. Do we have a second?
I second it.
Okay, we have a second by Commissioner Jones. This time, any further discussion? No further discussion. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, raise your left hand. Motion passes. Thank you.
Mayor,
Thank
Yes.
you, Mayor.
I just want to clarify on what I'm watching, I only see you and Commissioner Ramirez. I want to make sure it's recorded, since it's by raising of the hand, that whatever's being recorded, it includes Commissioner and Commissioner.
Yes, good point. Make sure that we are recorded. All right, so once again, just to make sure that it's clear that all those in favor of resolution number 20, you raise your right hand. Make sure that it is recorded in the camera. All right. All those opposed, Go ahead.
Everybody raise the right hand.
Okay, so whatever's being recorded to the public, the other commissioners are being shown?
Yes.
Yes? Okay.
Okay,
Yes, sir, we can see them all on our side.
Yes.
Okay.
okay, as long as they can, okay.
All right, so just continuing for opposed to approving resolution 2020-14, raise your left hand. For the record, no one raised their their left hand. So item passes. 4A is approved. Moving on to item 4B, discussion and possible action to approve resolution number 2020-8A, amending for clarification previously adopted resolution number 2020-8, which authorized the submission of a grant for funding through the Local Border Security Program grant.
Mayor and Commissioners, I think we've got Chief Castillo on the line. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. I'm right here. Good afternoon. Mayor, Commissioner Mr. Perez, this is the border security program grant that we've been working on for I'd say about 10 years or more. And this is original resolution just needs to be clarified. The date is needs to be changed, and the authorized official for the signature is it's supposed to be Mr. Perez, so it just needs some corrections. And this is a $100,000 grant for border security operations and overtime.
Okay. We entertain a motion at this time, or any questions for the chief? No questions? Go ahead and have a motion then at this time.
Have some more, Mayor.
Okay, we have a motion to approve item B by Commissioner Ramirez. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Flores. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by raising your right hand and make sure the camera shows it. All those opposed, raise your left hand. Okay, motion passes. Thank you, Chief. Next item is 4C, discussion and possible action to approve resolution number 2020-15 to authorize the submission of a grant application for funding through Operation Stone Garden 2019 U.S. Department of Homeland Security for grant period 1/11/2020 to 2/28/2021. Chief?
Yes, Mayor and Commissioner, we got Chief Castillo from that grant.
Yes, Mayor and City Commission. This is a $360,000 Stone Garden grant that goes through the Stark County Sheriff's Department in this operation of Stone Garden. This is we are applying, and it just missing this resolution for us to be able to order our tower, which is a watchtower. That the watchtower is $168,000. And it also includes two mobile license plate readers that would go on two of our grant units, and they read the license plate for incoming and ongoing vehicles that we run into, and that's really very effective. And that also covers $160,000 of overtime, a little bit over $160,000 of overtime, also for border security operations. And with this grant and the other one combined, you're looking at about $460,000 grant money, and this requesting
Okay, so at this time, any questions for the chief, or are we ready to entertain a motion? Okay, if not, we have a motion.
I don't move to approve.
Okay, we have a motion to approve by Commissioner Jones.
I'll turn the motion.
Second by Commissioner Ramirez. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, raise your left hand. Motion passes. Thank you, Chief. Next item is 4D, discussion and possible action to approve resolution number 2020-16 to authorize the submission of a grant for funding through the USDA Rural Development Community Facilities Grant Project. Item 4D, Mr. Perez. Mr.
Mr.
Perez?
Meatus, we can't hear you, but Chief Meatus is here.
Yes,
Yeah, Mayor and Commissioners, this grant is tied to the public hearing process. So we got Chief Muñiz online for this particular item.
Okay. Hello, Chief.
good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Yes, this grant has been a long process, but it is currently a 65% grant, max grant. It's 77,218 grant. It is to purchase equipment, SCBAs, which is a self-contained breathing apparatuses. Those are the equipment that we wear, air packs that they call them, to wear. Right now, we're currently being loaned some, just to purchase 11 of those harnesses, along with some face pieces to go along with it. Right now, the grant does match at least 35%, which is about 27,000, where they'll be refunding us once this is effective.
Great. Any questions for Chief? If not, you're ready to entertain a motion at this time?
Mayor, I'd just like to congratulate Chief Muñiz and his staff. Doing a great job. I know they've gotten other grants. I know recently they got a boat. And again, just congratulate him and his staff for a great job.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Muñiz. I know the disinfectant that you all distributed went by super fast in a couple of hours, was it not? So, or less than that. And we're hoping to get some more. So once we do, then we can definitely distribute it. But thank you for doing that for the community, and of course we did it for businesses as well as and the community at large. So thank you, Chief. Certainly well commended for all the services they're providing for the community. Thank you, Chief. At this time, do we entertain a motion?
Awesome, Mayor.
Okay, we have a motion to approve by Commissioner Ramirez. Item 4D, do we have a second? Second by Commissioner Flores. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Make sure the camera sees it. And all those opposed, raise your left hand. Motion carries. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Next item is 5, City Manager's Report, Letter A, discussion and possible action to declare certain items and equipment as surplus.
Mayor and Commissioners, we've got the fire department that has some surplus equipment to declare.
Okay.
Yes, again, good evening. We do have an attack truck, brush truck that we've had since 1995. It's been out of commission for since 2014. The amount to repair that truck was too expensive in our previous administration and current administration, that we just decided to go ahead and turn it into a surplus.
And these two items are from you, right? Letter A, B as well. The discussion and possible action to declare 31 hoses. So let's consider both of those the same
Correct,
time.
well.
Item A and B.
They're correct. That's out of commission hoses. Basically, we can't use those hoses anymore. As far as that, we have two other little items: a television set and a DVR player as well.
Okay, so then just for the record, we have items 5A and 5B for consideration at this time. And those hoses are, you already talked to Bomberos from Camargo. I know we usually send equipment their way, and much appreciated. So thank you to the commission for allowing those items to go for use at other municipalities, particularly our friends and neighbors from Camargo. Do we have any other questions, or are we ready to entertain a motion at this time for items 5A and 5B?
Mayor, a motion to approve items 5A and 5B as presented.
We have a motion to approve items 5A and 5B by Commissioner Ramirez.
A second.
Have a second by Commissioner Jones. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, raise your left hand. Motion carries. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Next, business and orders item 6, contracts and agreements. We have letter A, Discussion and possible action to approve authorization to negotiate an award contract for professional audit services with Raul Hernandez and Company.
Mayor and Commissioners, we've got a contract that's coming up. Mr. Hernandez, if you recall, recently, he's the one that's got us up to date on the audits. We've been working very well with him. I'll turn it over to Mr. Cantu.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners, Mr. Cantu here again. Yeah, like Mr. Perez said, Mr. Hernandez has been the one that's helped us bring us current on our audits. He's done our last 3 audits in a very efficient, timely manner. We work very well together with him. He helps us a lot throughout the year. Whatever questions we have, and if we have any concerns, we call him up, and he's always a phone call away. And if he doesn't answer, he reaches out right away. So I would like to recommend that the contract for his services would be renewed for this coming year's 2020 audit.
Thank you, Mr. Cantu, and thank you to your staff too, by the way. I know we finally squared away our department when it comes to auditing, and I know we're up to date, and commending your department as well as Mr. Hernandez for helping us through that difficult time of getting everything squared away, and we are in an exceptional position. So thank you to you and your staff, and everyone that has participated in bringing us up to speed, of course, through the help of Mr. Hernandez. So with that being said, do we entertain a motion at this time? Okay, do we have a motion for item 5 or 6A?
Mayor, a motion to approve this item is presented.
Okay, we have a motion to approve item 6A by Commissioner Meatus. Do I have a second?
I second that.
I have a second by Commissioner Flores. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Raising your right hand. Okay. All those opposed, raise your left hand. Okay. Motion passes. Next item is 6B, discussion and possible action to approve a memorandum of understanding between the American Red Cross and the city of Rio Grande City.
Yeah, Mayor and Commissioners, we've got Mr. Muñiz again. This is a memorandum of understanding. It's to be put together between us and the Red Cross. Mr. Muñiz, can you further explain?
Yes, again, good evening. It is a memorandum, as explained, between the American Red Cross and ourselves, the city of Rio Grande. Basically, it's just to provide a framework of the cooperation that the American Red Cross has with the city. And we've used the American Red Cross a lot in past events. It is from something small to something large. They've assisted us as well for flooding. They used to come out and assist us. The paperwork, the framework, it's already, we have it here. Basically, it's the only thing that we will need to provide in our end is if we need to have a shelter, we'll need to have law enforcement as far as our city to provide the security. Other than that, they have no bounds as far as what do they do to help us out. Where there's a fire, or or floods that we've done in the past.
Okay, do we have a motion at this time, or any questions for Chief? Okay, no questions. We go ahead and entertain a motion at this time.
Yes, Mayor, I move to approve item 6B as discussed.
Okay, we have a motion to approve item 6B by Commissioner Flores. Do we have a second?
I second it, Mayor.
I have a second by Commissioner Jones. No further discussion. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, raise your left hand. Opposed. Okay. Motion carries. Thank you, Chief. Thank you. Appreciate it. Next item is 7. Letter A, discussion action on preliminary and final approval of the St. Ives subdivision in Rio Grande City, Stark County, Texas.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. This is Gilbert Milan.
Once again, you see the St. Ives subdivision here for final approval due to a change on a common access easement between lots 2 and 3. We checked with legal and they found that we had to present it again due to this change. It's a small change, but it has to be approved though.
Okay. Do we entertain a motion then at this time?
I got a question for Mr. Milan. Have these new plans, Mr. Pettis, also, have they been, I guess, looked at by council and by engineers?
Yes, sir.
Okay, just a formality or just like a minor adjustment to the original plan?
It's a formality and it's a minor adjustment. It's really the street that going into the area was not lined up with the other streets in the back. And so they adjusted the property line to match it.
Okay, I was just looking at the map. I really couldn't understand what they were trying to do.
Okay, are we ready for a motion at this time or any other clarifications on this plat? No? Okay, do we entertain a motion at this time?
I'll motion to approve, Mayor.
Okay, we have a motion to approve by Commissioner Ramirez. Do I hear a second?
Second, Mayor.
I have a second by Commissioner Flores. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, raise your left hand. Okay, motion carries. Next is item 7B, discussion and possible action on preliminary and final approval of the Rio Grande Main Addition subdivision in Rio Grande City, Starr County, Texas. Milan?
If I may, Mayor, all these items on the planning section have been approved by the Planning and Zoning Commission on their meeting of April 14th. For this item, this is a commercial subdivision. This is for a proposed Dollar General catty corner to the Canales Street on the corner of Charco Blanco and Highway 83. And its services are there. There's really no infrastructure to be moved. There is, like I said, the services are there and it's ready for final approval.
Okay, and you said it's for a Dollar General?
Yes, sir. There's a brand new store coming up right next to the First Cash Pound.
Okay. And you said all these items, again, were already approved by Planning and Zoning. So
all the planning items have been approved.
Okay, with that, we'll entertain a motion at this time.
Yes, Mayor, I move to approve item 7B as discussed.
Okay, we have item 7B as discussed by Commissioner, a motion to approve.
The second, Mayor.
Flores. We have a second by Commissioner Jones. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Or my mistake, by raising your right hand. All those opposed, raise your left hand. Okay, motion carries. Next, business and orders item 7C, discussion and possible action on final approval of the Ramirez Brothers subdivision in Rio Grande City, Starr County, Texas. Item 7C.
Yes, sir. Mayor, this is a two-lot residential subdivision. The services are there. On the last meeting was presented for preliminary approval, but due to there was a comment on the cul-de-sacs requested, then it was found out that they were not needed due to the small distance of the adjacent streets, but it's ready for final approval.
Okay. With that, any questions? If not, are we ready for a motion?
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion to approve by Commissioner, was it Ramirez? Yes. We have a second by?
Second, Mayor.
We have a second by Commissioner Flores. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, raise your left hand. A motion carried. Next item is item D, 7D, which is discussion and possible action on final approval of the estates of Rio Vista Subdivision in Rio Grande City, Starr County, Texas. Mr. Milan?
Yes, sir. This is within our 5 mile or 1 mile ETJ. This is along Midway Road. This is a residential subdivision presented by Rio Delta Engineering, and it's for final approval.
Okay. And no, everything else, again, it's been already approved and so on. So with that.
Oye, Gilbert, ¿dónde mero está? Where is it at, Gilbert?
This is south of Midway Acres on Midway Road. There's a residential subdivision that belongs to Heritage Development, and then south of that, further down the road, it's this Estates of Rio Vista subdivision.
Okay, all right. I know where that. Okay.
We entertain the motion at this time.
I so move, Mayor.
Okay, we have a motion to approve by Commissioner Jones. Do we hear a second?
Second, Mayor.
Have a second by Commissioner Flores. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, raise your left hand. Motion carries. Next item is 7E, discussion and possible action on final approval of the Fades subdivision in Rio Grande City, Starr County, Texas. Go ahead, Mr.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
Yes, sir, Mayor. This is a single lot commercial subdivision. This is it's along 83, close to Alvarez Road. Actually, the owner, Mr. Heraldo Solis, he owns an actual barber shop just to the west of Alvarez Road, but he purchased this property to do his own building here.
What type of building is it going to be?
It's a commercial building, and he's going to build his barber shop there.
Okay. All right. We entertain a motion at this time.
I so move to approve, Mayor.
Okay, we have a motion to approve by Commissioner Jones.
I'll second the motion.
We have a second by Commissioner Ramirez. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, raise your left hand. Motion carried. Next item is 7F, discussion and possible action on off-premise liquor store license for Regalado Investments for store located at 605 West Main Street, Rio Grande City, Starr County, Texas.
Yes, Mayor, this is licenses for a liquor store right next to the old Ford dealership, which, by the way, has been cleaned tremendously lately. But we've had liquor licenses in the past at this location.
Okay, so no issues there, no concerns or anything at this point, right?
No, sir.
Okay.
Hey, Gilbert,
Go ahead.
just a great job working with the owners on that Ford property, Gilbert. It's real clean. And it was a real sore eye. The difference between yesterday and today makes a lot of difference. That's a very clean, very professional job that was done there.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, do we entertain a motion at this time for item 7F?
I so move, Mayor, to approve.
Okay, we have a motion to approve by Commissioner Jones. We have a second.
I second, Mayor.
We have a second by Commissioner Flores. Any further discussion? Somebody's dog is barking and it's not mine. All those in favor, raise your right hand.
Pardon?
All those against or opposed to raise your left hand. Motion carries. Thank you. Anybody care to say whose dog it was? Is it yours, Commissioner Garza? Is it yours?
That's mine,
It's not Penny. All right, so at this time, we're going to go into executive session, item 8, executive session, chapter 5.
Mayor.
Yes.
Unless I'm mistaken, in order to keep the agenda in order, I think we skipped 1D.
Which one?
Or at least 1D, unless it's marked.
Yeah, no, we did do item E, did we not? 1E, the Fades, that was the one lot.
No, general.
No.
1D,
The departmental records.
report. Departmental reports.
Oh, okay. Going back to 1D. Okay. Thank you, sir, for bringing that up. So just before we go to executive session, we go back to item 1D, which is departmental reports. Mr. Perez.
Mayor and Commissioners, we've got some folks. I know that you heard Chief Castillo talk about some of the grants, and you also heard Muniz. Obviously, the fire department has done an excellent job. They now have a boat, which they didn't have before. This will allow them to be able to go into the river and rescue folks that are along the perimeter of the city, which they didn't in the past. On the Chief Castillo side, the other grant that he mentioned, the tower, having a tower and being able to monitor, whether you have an event or a store and security, that itself is a deterrent to folks that want to do some type of, crime. So everybody's been working hard and very diligently on keeping up with grants. They do this, they make it look easy, but they actually put a lot of effort behind these requests. The justifications have to obviously be sold to the folks that agree on sending us those funds. So kudos to those folks that continue to work hard behind the scenes in justifying these grants. I'll open it up to anybody. I didn't have any specific request of making any comments. I know Mr. Barrera also is about to bring in the tire cutter. It's ready. It should be delivered probably in the next week. The idea, of course, behind the tire cutter is how can we minimize our cost in getting rid of tires. We've been spending $1,200 a month sending those tires to the valley in a trailer. That cost should be reduced because now we should be able to cut up the tires and dispose of them at the local transfer station. So, Mr. Barrera, you want to talk about your tire cutter coming up and possibly considering opening up the end of the month bulky item collection?
Yes, good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Yes, we're gonna have the tire cutter probably next week, and they're gonna show us how to use it, and we'll have some staff, like Mr. Perez said, during our last week citywide cleanup. We're gonna be crushing tires also, so we're gonna be there.
How many? How does it work? The mechanism, is it how many tires per minute or per 5 minutes? How does it work?
It's only one tire at a time, but it cuts it into 4 pieces.
And is it a lengthy process, or is it pretty easy to just?
It's a lengthy process, but it'll crush a lot of tires during the day. We already saw one working at the county with Mr. Sainz, and they have a similar machine.
Okay. Excellent. Well, thank you, Mr. Barrera. I know that your department, is in charge of a huge city, and it was, even though it might seem small when you're looking at 35 miles of streets, for example, and just acreage, takes a lot of manpower to be able to sustain such tremendous need. Thank you, sir, to your department, and thank you for keeping abreast of the latest things that we can do to improve. And obviously, this tire cutter is going to help us tremendously to reduce and or lessen the impact that thrown tires. Unfortunately, some individuals still throw their tires around town, which is unfortunate. That some people are willing to just litter our beautiful city with tires that create a nuisance to the community. But here's a way for you and your department to address that issue. And but thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council.
Appreciate it.
That's it, Mayor.
Okay. And again, just to reiterate the point to all the departments, that I know that we've been dealing with this COVID-19 for the last several weeks. However, the city continues to operate, and although we have reduced to skeleton crews, or to minimize some of the crews but I say we're still able to manage operating and continuing to move our city forward, and continuing to operate as business as usual to some degree, even though we're still addressing the COVID-19. So thank you to all departments for continuing to operate and to come up with ways to produce or be more effective in each department, or efficient as well. So thank you again to all the departments. Certainly appreciate your time, effort, and dedication to the city of Rio Grande City. Moving on to executives, or any other comments by commissioners, anything you would like to add to that, if you wish, this time? No? Okay, let's move on to item 8, executive session, chapter 551, Texas Government Code, section 551.071, consultation with attorney, and section 551.074, personnel matters. It is 7:22 p.m.
Mayor, just hold on, Mayor. Are we gonna stay on this same? Are we gonna come back and?
You should be getting an invite to an executive session link specifically to the commission.
Okay. Yeah, I thought we were gonna move forward.
Yeah, we'll get off this one and then come back to this public meeting as soon as we're done with the executive session. So look out for the link for executive.
Yes, sir.
Will now be recorded.
Okay, so it's being recorded now. We're back from executive session. It is 9:16 p.m. And we're starting off with item 9, reconvene into regular session in consideration of action on matters discussed during executive session. First item is 9A, discussion and possible action to award an exclusive solid waste services contract to Grande Garbage Collection. And at this time, we asked our legal department to look into the current existing contract.
Yes, Mayor. You've asked me some time ago to look into a 2015 contract that was signed for solid waste collection between the city and the Grande Garbage, Mayor. And in any contract, Mayor, what we look at is, does it have a beginning date and an ending date, which is, you find that in the terms of the contract. And in looking at the contract that you currently have right now with Grande Garbage, on page 1 of that contract where it states term, it reads like this: the term of this contract with the city of Rio Grande and the contractor will be effective beginning October 10, 2015 through October 11, 2018 for a 3-year term. And obviously that has ended in 2018. And then it reads the following: an option to renew the contract for an additional 2-year term. It talks about a singular term, a 2-year term. But if you look further down in the contract, again, under the section of terms, page 8 of that contract that the city signed in 2015, section 10.00, it reads like this: the term of this contract, and again, this is a very specific part of the contract, and it reads, the term of the contract with the city of Rio Grande and the contractor will be effective beginning October 15th of year 2015 through October 11th of 2018. That's the 3-year part of the contract, expiration date. And then it reads, the contract shall be for a 3-year period beginning upon execution of the contract. It further reads, and this is where I do have a problem with the contract. It reads, the initial 3-year term of this contract can be extended for successive additional 2-year terms. Now it's speaking plural. In my opinion, this contract that you currently have with this contractor for the solid waste collection has a conflict. In one part of the contract, you're talking about a singular 2-year extension. And the other part, again, under terms, you're talking about a successive 2-year extensions. So it's my opinion that you have a contract that does not have an ending date, okay? It can be interpreted as it will continue indefinitely, and those are issues that, in my opinion, need to be clarified. What I suggest, in my opinion, is that if you are in the process of correcting this contract, I suggest a modification of the contract that clarifies specifically this part of the contract and gives the city an ending date and gives a contract date. Every contract, like I stated, Mayor, needs a beginning date and needs an ending date. Whatever you all put in the middle in terms, that depends on the both parties. But this contract clearly has a conflict regarding its ending date. It could run indefinitely without an end on it. So again, my recommendation would be that this contract be modified where at one point it ends without, and you have a termination period on it.
So currently, the way it reads, it's going to be successive two-year terms. It could be indefinite at this point.
The way page 8, section 10.00, correct, Your Honor. Correct, Mayor. Correct.
Okay. Any other questions? Or go ahead, Mr. Villarreal. I think we lost you there. Or
the only way, I'm sorry. The only way I believe you can correct this contract is through and clarify it is through a modification of it.
Okay, Mayor. Well, with that being said, I think the only choice we have is to make a motion to order our city attorney to draft an agreement that clarifies the current conflict in terms of the contract with Grande Department, and to include a final expiration date of 5 years with a single 2-year option.
Okay. We have a motion by Commissioner Ramirez at this time.
I second, Mayor.
We have a second by Commissioner Jones. Any further discussion on this item? Further discussion? All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, raise your left hand. Okay. Motion passes. Moving on to next item is 9B. There was no action on that item, and item 9C, there was no action on that item. And at this time, we have item 10, which is adjournment. Anyone, any closing comments? If none, we have a motion to adjourn today's meeting.
So move.
We have a motion to adjourn by Commissioner Ramirez.
Second.
We have a second by Commissioner Jones. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, raise your left hand. Okay, meeting is adjourned. Thank you and have a good evening. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.